Patriots and Jets opening week 3 tonight, and we're just over 12 hours away. Dan, let's talk about this Jets offense under Aaron Rodgers. Some might say it's looked like it has training wheels on it. Do those need to come off tonight?
They do, and I think we saw them come off last week. I think we saw this Jets offense give Aaron Rodgers essentially the keys and say, hey, go run the line of scrimmage, get us into those empty sets. You find the weakness of the defense. You find the soft spot, the matchup that you love. This is a massive challenge for this Jets offense tonight against a good New England defense. Aaron Rodgers got to lead the way.
Massive game on Sunday, Kmart, Ravens and Cowboys. Will Derrick Henry make Dallas regret not signing him this Sunday afternoon?
I think if Todd Monken, their OC, knows what he's doing, Derrick Henry will have Jerry Jones squirming in his seat. Think about it. Derrick Henry was working out last offseason, and he was right there in Texas expecting a call from the Cowboys. They never did, so we'll see if Derrick Henry gets his revenge.
Yeah, maybe a petty game ball.
Petty game, let's go.
We're all in on that. Meanwhile, Harry, let's stay in the NFC East. Should Nick Sirianni be on the hot seat if the Eagles lose again against the Red Hot Saints?
Newsflash, alert, alert, he was on the hot seat coming into the season. Whenever you have to change your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, you're on the hot seat. But if you lose this game to New Orleans in a crazy fashion, like New Orleans beat the Dallas Cowboys last week,
How hot was that seat again?
Man, hotter than a pan of grits on the stove. Last week it was fish grease. It's a pot of grits this week.
Okay, fair enough.
I love grits.
You got a lot of things that are hot in your life. As you just saw there. So what you just saw there, the Eagles were up 3, threw the incomplete pass to Saquon on 3rd down, stopped the clock, kicked the field goal. Kirk Cousins goes down the field and wins the game. Our ESPN analytics gave the Eagles a 95% chance to win had they gone for it on that 4th down, and a 90% chance of winning by kicking the field goal. Obviously, both still strong possibilities. The other, according to our analytics, was the better option, but after having time to evaluate, Nick Sirianni says he did the right thing.
I was completely convicted that kicking the field goal there was the right decision based off all my studies. Now, I come back and I reevaluate it, right? And I'm even more convicted, to be quite honest with you, because of just everything that goes into that. It's the business that we chose, however you want to say it. And so, I'll gladly take the criticisms because I know they're coming.
Okay, so, they so certainly are. They have been and they continue. I want to spin this forward quickly to what is going to happen now, because this is the moment of truth we've been waiting for. But since he's doubling down, Dan, I have to come to you. Did they make the right decisions in play call and in kicking the field goal at the end of that game?
No, I don't agree with the 3rd down throw, and I don't agree with kicking the field goal on 4th down. Here's the thing. You are throwing it on 3rd down for one reason. You want to end the football game.
Right.
You actually don't want to give the ball back to the other team. So if you are going to choose to throw the ball on 3rd down, then you should be going for it on 4th down just as much as if you were going to throw it on 3rd down. The goal is to not you're trying to end the football game. If you were content with kicking a field goal and going up by 6, then you run the ball on 3rd down and make a decision off of what happens on 3rd down on 4th down. I completely disagree with that. And then I completely disagree with basically trying to explain the decision making. I look at it like this, guys. Dan Campbell is probably the most aggressive coach in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
There's always a reason why he's doing it. It feels like when Nick Sirianni does it, he's just rolling dice and hopefully hitting.
He just said that after he went back and did his research and all that. I'm not sure what he's researching. The analytics absolutely go the other way. So, look, at the end of the day, the play worked.
Yes.
Saquon has to catch it. They win the game if he does.
Yes.
I understand that part of it, but I will say now, for the 3rd consecutive day, I completely agree with you. The play calling was incongruous. What they did on 3rd down and what they did on 4th down did not marry together. And that's the part of it that bothers me.
And I understand that, and that's all true and well. But at the end of the day, we put up those analytics, and one says 95% and the other says 90%. If you're going to tell me I'm going into an NFL game and in the 4th quarter I say, oh, I have a 90% 90% chance to win this game. I feel pretty damn good about a 90% chance to win. I look at the third down call like, yes, I understand your guys' philosophy, and it makes a ton of sense. But he still dialed up a 3rd and 3 call that involved 2 of his best players on the entire team, and he didn't execute it. Yeah. So at the end of the day, him deciding to kick a field goal and say, you know what, beat us with a touchdown. The issue now lies on the fact that in 4 or 5 plays, the Atlanta Falcons went right down the field and did so and beat them with a touchdown because they're giving up so much on the outside at the cornerback position.
I 100% disagree with the play call. And Dan, you was on the 2014 Lions team when I was with the Atlanta Falcons and we played y'all in London. Kind of similar situations.
Oh, yeah.
You guys had no timeouts
Julio.
left. We called the timeout, tried to decide if we were going to run the football or pass it and get a first down. We decided to run a screen. The screen gets dropped, gives them another timeout. We have to now then punt the football, but then they go down and win the football game. When we could have just used more time on the clock, it made it more difficult for the Detroit Lions.
Would you have gotten the first down had he caught the ball?
We don't know.
Well, we don't know because he didn't catch it.
He didn't catch it.
Who'd you throw it to?
But again,
Julio.
we're not having this conversation.
It was our best player.
We're not.
I'm okay with
trust
that.
your stars to make plays. So in this particular situation, you were trusting Saquon to catch the ball, son. If he catches the ball, we are not having this conversation. Agree with you on the field. Like, I get it. I get what you're saying. But on that play call, I'm not going to kill him on that.
You also trust your head coach to make the right decisions in the right moment on a consistent basis. The Eagles have really 2 issues. One, they can't stop the run at all, which is going to be an issue for the foreshadowing of this weekend. 2, I don't trust Nick Sirianni to manage the game. I don't trust him in big situations to make that very specific decision of yes or no, do or don't. And those are their 2 big flaws right now.
Yeah.
And what Dan is saying about I don't trust the head coach, that is why each and every week is a referendum on Nick Sirianni.
Of course.
Because the trust is not there. We're wondering within that locker room and then also watching how he calls plays and manages.
Right. We won't know if the Eagles have fixed whatever their internal issues were if they win. And they won week 1.
Sure.
We'll find out when they lose, especially when they lose a game like this. Everything now goes directly in the middle of the table. So what do we say is at stake against a bad matchup against New Orleans on Sunday?
It's not a must-win, win-loss-wise. I get record. It's a must-win locker room. It's a must-win feel and vibe. It's a must-win when it comes to just the quieting of the noise with the way week 2 ended. And this is a bad matchup for Philadelphia. Atlanta ran because the New Orleans Saints are going to run the same exact scheme that the Atlanta Falcons ran. And it's about the zone run game. And if the Eagles defensively don't handle the zone run game, they want to cut the defense, okay, offensively. We want double teams on the left side, and we want to right there cut the backside of the defense. The back is going to press the hole, and then he is going to cut back right when that cut of that offensive line happens. This was the story of the game, the Falcons running the football. Cut the defense. From the right side of the center, we're going to get double teams front side, and from the left side, there's that seam that they want to cut backside, and you got a dynamic back in Alvin Kamara in New Orleans that's going to run it the same exact way. They're going to take those defensive tackles. Left side of your screen is going to get cut. Right side of your screen is going to get double teamed. This Philadelphia Eagles, look at that hole right there. Yeah. Okay, this is the point. 1, New Orleans runs the same scheme. 2, New Orleans' offensive line is probably just as good as Atlanta's.
And nasty.
And mean.
Nasty.
3, they got the back to run it.
Yeah.
You're going to get the same stuff from the Saints. That's a bad situation for this Eagles defense.
And one of my biggest takes from the Philadelphia Eagles defense is that there's no difference from last year to this year.
Yeah.
Watching that game versus the Atlanta Falcons and also their first week against Green Bay in Brazil, I just thought Green Bay made mistakes and allowed the Philadelphia Eagles to cover up their mistakes that they made across the board on offense and defense. You're going against a New Orleans football team who scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions last week versus New Orleans. There's no pass rush for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was Casper the Friendly Ghost on Monday Night Football. No one could find it. But situational football was bad. You gave up points in 2 minutes before halftime. You gave up a touchdown in 2 minutes when the game was on the line. So I don't have faith in this defense that they have a leader on that side of the ball that can get these guys and rally the troops either. We got to remember, Fletcher Cox is no longer there.
Yeah.
He's no longer there. That's a huge loss. And Hassan Reddick, That's another huge loss. Bryce Huff didn't show up in weeks 1 and 2.
Their defense has been legendarily bad at the ends of halves and
Yes.
the ends of games over the course of the last season, and change by far, by a wide margin, the worst in the league. Can they get that fixed? Can they? Dan just showed you all the things that New Orleans, in theory, is going to do to Philadelphia, just what they did to Dallas. Can you fix that in 1 week?
It was already supposed to be fixed. Like, it was the issue last year. You didn't have the linebackers. You didn't have this. You went out and tried to figure it out. And to Kmar's point, I look at Sirianni and all of this because coming off of last year, you had a complete collapse after you're 10-1. And now you go out there, you get these 2 new coordinators. If it doesn't work, this all falls on Nick Sirianni. So I think as this season goes, they go out there, they don't perform against the New Orleans Saints. Now you start to ask the question, did they bring Kellen Moore in to possibly be the guy to replace Nick Sirianni? I think
Tampa next week as well.
You start to ask those questions because if it's not going well, you mentioned the locker room of missing out. I remember they played Seattle a year ago and they lose that game. And in the 2-minute drill, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown called their own play. And to me, from a coaching standpoint, you have guys in the most critical part of the game and they're saying, you know what? We know better than you guys and we'll figure it out.
The biggest thing I want to see this week, how did they come back from that adversity that they faced last week? That's what I want to see from the Philadelphia Eagles in week 3.
Well, that's really the point.
They can't stop the run.
Oh, I know.
So they've got all kinds of problems.